Good morning to all. We shall continue the uh, basics of Python programming. We yesterday, am I audible to all? Yes. Yeah. Maybe I will mute it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Fine. Yesterday we have seen about started with the basic Python programming. It's something like we have the basic introduction about Python, and Python is the IDE that we are used for the Python development, and different data types. We have gone through that. Number In the number we have the different data types like integer, float, and then complex numbers, and we have the string over here. And in order to manipulate that different operation, we have gone through the different operators, something like arithmetic operators and relational operators and bitwise operators and assignment operators. Yes. And we gone through that different methods of output or printing the message or on the Python console using the print function, and receiving the input from the console using the input member function. And we gone through that another data type of list, which has something like a series of values, and how we can able to append or add insert into that list and extending the two lists, and getting the respect index element and removing that element, and sorting in case of a integer or float integer list. We can able to do that sorting, and we can do the reverse of list, and also we can do the pop of the respective index based, or the last one can be popped out from the list. Today we will see about another data type of tuple. Tuple is basically a sequence of immutable Python objects. Immutable in the sense it's the object cannot be changed once we have assigned. It will be similar to list. The tuples also a sequence of values, but only the difference is tuples cannot be changed in the runtime like a list. And it's something like we have used bracket for an defining a list. Here we will use parentheses for the definition of tuples over here. We will see how we can define, how we can use that the tuples over here. I'm going to open the Python with the Python program project. Yeah. Yeah. I got a Python console over here, and here I'm going to define a tuple over here, maybe tup equals parentheses that provide something like a empty list. The len of tup is 0. If suppose we wanted to create a tuple with the values the similar to that list, we can create the tuple a series of values with different data types. For example, it can be like the integer, and then followed by a float, and then followed by something like a complex number, and followed by a string. That we can able to create a tuple with mixture of data types, numbers, strings, etc. And the similar way that we can, for example, we can able to access the tuple with by indexing 0, we will be getting 12, and indexing of 1 will provide that. If suppose we wanted to change the index 0 value 12 to 24, for example, I'm going to do equals, I'm assigning, sorry, top of 0 equals 24, and which basically tuple is will contain immutable Python objects we cannot change. If suppose we wanted to change, it provides and throws an error, something like a type error. The tuple objects does not support item assignments. Whatever be the value we are defining during the assignment, that cannot be changed during the runtime in the tuple. For example, here we will see where the tuple can be used. For example, the tuple can be used in some cases, something like a tuple equals, it can be a sequence of number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a sequence of number. We can create a range of sequence with the help of range member function. For example, I'm going to create a tuple T1 and range of 10 over here, which provides something like the ranges of tuple. When I'm going to print of T1, which is something like range of 0 to 10, which means that it will starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, up to 9 is the tuple will be created. And if suppose we can validate whether our number is present in that tuple or not, maybe I'm going to check 7 in T1, which gets true. It's something like 0 to 9 is present in the tuple, and maybe we can check 10 in T1. 10 will not be present. It is something like a 0 to 9. The tuple can be a series of value. It can be used to create a series of numbers in case of with the range member function. The difference between the list and the tuple cannot be changed during the runtime, and the tuple index value or tuples cannot be updated in the runtime. And for example, we can use that the function len of tup will provide the number of elements present in that particular tuple. The similar way, we have the option something like maybe len of T1, which provides the T1 has been created with the range of 10, which means 0 to 9. It has the 10 elements present over here. And we have the option to check max of T1, which is a 9 is the max of T1, and min of T1, which provides a 0 value. 0 is the minimum over here. If it is an integer, we can able to manipulate. If suppose we have the tuple, which is a complex number, then if it is a mixture of multiple data types, we cannot do the max or min over here. It provides throws an error. It's something like it cannot able to check which is a maximum in case of an integer with the float and mixture of different data types. And same it is applicable for min as well. It cannot detect whether it is which one is the minimum in case of a mixture of data types. If it is a integer data types, it can able to detect the maximum and minimum. For example, we have an T1 is the tuple which ranges from 0 to 9. It provides the maximum number is 9, minimum number is 0. In case of a mixture of data types, the functions will not provide. Before using that max or min function to detect whether what is the maximum value, we should ensure that it is an integer tuples, all the elements are integer elements, and so that the comparison will happen. If it is a mixture of data types, we cannot use the max or min member functions. And the same way we can create a copy using the tuple. For example, here I'm going to have a tuple of T1 which provides something like a T1 provides a complete sequence output. It ranges from the 0 to 9. The same way tuple of, for example, TUP which provides the complete output of the tuple. If suppose we wanted to assign one tuple to another one, we can directly do that, something like T2 equals T1. We can do, if suppose we wanted to create a range of tuple and to sequence, for example, the range of 10 is something like range of 0 to 10, which we wanted to convert and save it in the tuple. We can use the tuple of range of 10 over here. That provides the output of 0 to 9 in the respective tuple manner that we can able to see over here. Yeah. This is something like basically tuple is similar to list, but it contains immutable objects, which means that the content of the tuple cannot be changed during the runtime. And we have the option, something like we can check, use the len function to get the number of elements present in the tuple, and we can do the plus operation to concatenate two tuples. For example, we have the tuple over here, print TUP is one tuple, and we have the T1 is another tuple over here. If suppose we wanted to concatenate these two, maybe we can use T2 is the one and TUP plus T1 is, sorry, yeah, T2 equals TUP plus tuple of T1, which provides something like, if suppose we do the T1 over here, sorry, print of T2 over here, which provides something like first 4 elements from the tuple TUP and the next 10 elements from the tuple T1 over here, which basically the plus symbol can be used to concatenate two different tuples as a single tuple basically. And in case if suppose we wanted to have the repetitions over here, that repetitions can be done with the help of int multiplied by 2. For example, we wanted to have the repetition. I am going to define a tuple T3 equals something like high into 4. Whenever we see the output of print of T3, we will be having something like a high is the one which will be available in the tuple over here. Like that, we can able to create the multiplier will get overridden. And a similar way, we can check whether the number, the element is present in the particular tuple or not. For example, here we have the tuple of T2 is the tuple which contains different elements. Maybe we can check whether Hariharan Hariharan is present in T2 or not. It's present, it provides a true, something like we can validate whether that element value is present in the true in that particular tuple or not, that we can able to use the in keyword to validate that the tuples, validate that whether it is present or not over here. Yeah. And we have the option something like we can get the tuple with the index based one. For example, we have the option something like 12, this zeroth index, 34.45 is the first index, second index number 2, index number 3, index number 4. For example, that we wanted to get the index numbers from index number 4 to up to maybe another 5, that we can able to do that with the T2 of 4:5. Then the 4 and end number that we have to give, maybe I'm giving the 4 to 10, then it will provide something like a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to 9 we get 4 to 10, which means that 4 to 9 that we will, it will provide the output over here. End element, that start element and end element, like that we can able to fetch the the partial uh, content of a tuple can be fetched from fetched using this kind of indexing basically. Yeah, that we had seen something like additions over here, and which concatenates two tuples. And the next one, we have that option of another data type, which is called an set. Set, which something we can say that it's a sets of data which with no duplicate elements. For example, here in the tuple or list, we can create a duplicate number. I'm going to create a T2 equals 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5 over here. Print of T2, which provides something like it has the information of 2, 2, 3, 3, and 4, 5. It's something like we can have that duplicate entries, duplicate elements can be present in the tuple or list, but the set is the one which will not have that no duplicate elements, which is an unordered collection with no duplicate elements. The list is created using a square bracket, and tuple is created using an curly braces or parentheses, and sets will be used something like tuple will be used to create parentheses will be used to create a tuple, and sets will be used to uses that curly braces to create a sets over here. In order to create a set, for example, in something like depends upon that how it was created. For example, I am creating a name list with the square bracket, which is called the data type of list over here. If you see that the list is the variable got created in the list data type, and we have the option tup of parentheses, which provides something like a tup has been created with the data type of tuple. The similar way I'm going to do yes with the curly braces, which basically creates an it can be a dictionary, or it can be something like a sets that we will come. What is the difference between the dictionary and sets that we will see. And basically that curly braces creates that variable in the form of sets basically. I have that I'm going to create something like a s equals, and basic advantages of using the sets is something like we can do the mathematical operations like a union or intersection or something like a differences we can able to fetch, and we can use a symmetric differences. Maybe I have the option. I'm going to create an two sets S1 with the S1 with, for example, it has the English, and we have an option something like a German, and then another one we have the subjects of max. In case of here, I'm going to do something like Tamil. Another one we have the Hindi over here, and then we have the option something like a max. Here we can able to play with that two different sets, something like A union B, A intersection B, A difference B. Like that we can check that S1 dot union of S2, which provides that output of S1 union S2. It's something like whatever be the outputs over here, something like A union B is A plus B minus A intersection B. It's something like we will be having two max should be present in the output. In the union we are doing A union B, S1 union S2. That provides something like all the components whichever is common to both, that will be considered like a single in case of a union over here. And similar way we can do the S1 dot intersection. Intersection is which is I think if I provide something like this, I think I missed. This is A1 subset, and this is B, another subset. Set 1 and set 2 over here. If suppose these two are combining, we will have something like a option, something like this area A union B, and whatever be the thing intersecting is called A intersection B. The differences are whatever out the areas of not intersected or the differences between these two. For example, S1 set 1 difference with the set 2. This is the area of difference. This is common to both is set 1 and set 1 and set 2. The similar way we will get the outputs over here. S1 intersection, we have the option something like English, German, Max. In the set 1, English, German will be present over here. The common point is Max, which is intersecting with the set 2, and whenever we do union, we will have English, German over here, which is present in set 1, and the common part is Max, and then here we have the Tamil and Hindi included, that A union B will be get created. The similar way intersection is which is common area to both, that will be provided over here. S1 common area, that is S1 dot intersection, that common between these two, or max is the common between these two, that we will be getting over here. Max is the common which is max is an intersection between the set 1 and set 2. The similar way we can get the differences S2, and which provides something like a S1 contains English and German, which is differed from the set 2. This kind of mathematical operations can be done using the set functions basically. And we have got created that set S1, set S2 got created, and we can able to manipulate that different mathematical operations using the set data type, like union, intersection, difference, and symmetric difference. All those things can be created. And if suppose we wanted to create an empty set, then it should be created using a set of functions. For example, I'm going to create a empty set S equals set of over here, which provides something like a S equals, yes, created with the data type of set. It is an empty data set. Empty set has been created over here. This, apart from this, we will be having something like we have the option, something like we can check whether our element is present or not. Similar to that list or tuple, we can validate something like German element is present in S1 or not. That we can able to check using the in keyword. And similar way, we can create a set with, for example, X equals set of a, something like we can create over here, and print of X, which provides, for example, here we can able to see there is a I have given created the set AH, and the second time H comes here, third time H comes here. If there is a duplicate element, that will be ignored and created like a set will be created like a unordered elements with duplicate element without any duplicate elements. For example, we can create another set S3 with something like maybe Hari, and then Hari, and then Nevi over here. Whenever we see the content of S3, we will be having only two elements. Whatever be the duplicate elements will be removed, and it will be considered like a single element in case of a set. The same, the tuple will have, if we create a tuple with duplicate elements, it will be created like a separate, each elements will be created over here. For example, if you see the tuple which has that duplicate elements, in case of a sets, it will not have an duplicate elements in the set basically. That is the difference between set and then set and the list and tuples. And the quick reference list will be created using a square brackets, and tuple will be created using a parenthesis, and set will be created using a curly braces over here. And apart from this, we have another data type which is called an dictionary. Is another data type. We mentioned that dictionary is something like for example, each and every value can be referenced with the key. For example, if suppose we are creating a series of values. For example, in the list, how can we create is something like a over here list, which is something, first one will be a name, and second one may be a marks maybe, 450 is the marks, and the third one can be a department ECE, and fourth one can be a year, the which year, maybe a third year, like that we can define, which does not have any keys with respect to that value. In case of dictionary, we will can provide keys with respect to value that we will see. I'm going to create a dictionary variable D over here. The dictionary variable will also uses the curly braces, and we can provide something like a name is the key, and the name value is Hariharan. The similar way, the next one, marks is the key, and its value is 450. And the similar way, we have the department is the key, and we have the value of ECE. And similar way, we have the year of study and is the key over here, and we have the value of third year over here. This is the format of defining a dictionary. The difference between list, tuple, the main advantage of dictionary, it has the key to reference a value. For example, whatever we are creating, we can use that key to reference or get it. For example, if suppose we wanted to get the name of the student, then we can use something like a D name, then we can able to access that. In case of a list, we need to give the index. For example, list of 0 is name, list of 1 is the marks, like that. We have to predefine that in case of a list. Here in the dictionary has the powerful mechanism, which is something like a value is associated with the key, so that we can use the key to access that particular value. That provides a flexibility to get adding more information even though there is change in the variable. If suppose, for example, in the list, for example, we updated a list with another variable or another element, then the element sequence gets changed, we cannot able to access. For example, I'm going to do list dot insert 0 comma something, maybe the college name I am going to update over here, Satyabama over here. And whenever we do print, then the name has came to the index number 1. Wherever we have referenced in our program, we have to change it. In case of dictionary, for example, we can do that. If suppose we are updating that with another one, that also has the key over here, college name colon the value of Satyabama over here, so that we does not need to change. The key will be common. That name is the key for the particular student name. Name is the student name. That key does not get changed, so that the respective value can be fetched without any changes in the programs. That basically this provides the mechanism with the value reference with the key is the advantage of using the dictionary over here. And similar to that, we can have the option something like we can validate whether it is present or not with the help of in over here. For example, I am going to check Hariharan is present in D or not. That we can, sorry, yeah, the key is present in that particular dictionary variable or not, that we can able to check with the in keyword, and or using the in keyword we can get the respective values of it basically. And similar way we can do that len of d provides something like how many elements or how many key pairs are present inside the dictionary variable, that we can able to get it using a len of d. And similar way we can do that assignments over here. For example, I wanted to change that name of the student. For I can we can do that with the option of d of name. Maybe I'm going to change the name as Anivi over here, and whenever we do the print of D, the name, whichever be the thing, key has name that has been changed to that particular, from the Hariharan to Nivi, it has been changed. It's basically a type of data access using the key is called is the advantage of using the dictionary variable data type. Yeah, this provides something like a kind of uh, complete data types of introduction about complete data types of the Python. It's we have the different data types like numbers, and then strings, and then list, and then tuple, and then we have a set, and then we have an dictionary. List is the one can be created using a square brackets, and tuple is the one we can create using the parenthesis, and set is the one using the can be created using a curly braces, and dictionary also uses the curly braces. Only thing difference between the set and the curly, dictionary is dictionary has the key and value, but set will have the only the value over here. Yeah. Is this fine? Shall we move forward? Yeah, maybe I will do one thing. I shall copy this complete things for you so that you can use it at a layer for. Yeah. And the next we are going to see how can we output in a formatted manner. For example, uh, earlier we have seen something like sorry, maybe I will restart this session. Print is the function to output a variable. For example, a is an integer and b is an floating point variable over here. And if suppose I am printing a comma b over here, it provides the variable a and variable b value. If suppose I wanted to do some kind of a formatted outputs, then I can use the earlier method. He uses something like a kind of a modulus symbol with a flag, and then width, and then precision, and then type, whether it can be a decimal integer or it can be like a floating point. Like that we can able to do that with the formatted output. For example, I'm going to print it something like a equals percentage 2 percentage d, and b equals percentage f. space percentage of a comma b over here, that provides a output a equals 30 and b equals 34.45 followed by 4 zeros like that. If suppose we wanted to make something like we the floating point, we just need only one digit precision, then we can do with the option something like we can do maybe 3 digits integer and 1 digit precision, then the value will be uh, rounded off and get printed accordingly. For example, the b value is 34.45. Since we have given 1 digit precision, the value has been rounded off to 34.5 and it got printed. This is a kind of a printing mechanism which was used uh, uh, older style of formatting, and this may get removed. Maybe currently it's supported till now and it may be removed during the future. And Python has introduced new format of uh, new way of formatted printed output with the help of format function. Format function provides some kind of a flexibility to provide which one to be printed, where to print, all those things can be given accordingly. And it uses the symbol of curly braces, open and close curly braces, to mark well what it should be get substituted basically. For example, the same way, how can we print using a format function? I have the option something like print a equals, and we have to put a curly brace, and then b equals the curly brace, and then dot format of a comma b over here, which provides an output of the curly braces. The first curly braces will be filled with the first element of format, and second curly braces will be filled with the second element of format basically. Here it means something like a has been filled in the first curly braces and b has been filled with the second curly braces. If suppose we wanted to give something like the second element should be filled over here and the first element should be filled over here. These are all the elements with the index 0 and 1. Maybe we can give, I can give 0 over here so that A will be filled over here and B will be filled over here. That we can able to check. Now we will see A equals 34.45 since the index, the format of index 1 which is on B gets filled over here. For example, we can change it something like B and A. This is the flexibility so that which one has to come on which location, that we can able to use the indexing mechanism in the printed formats. Something like we have the this is here we have only 2. If suppose we have 10 elements of format, and we can we should in case of another languages, we should maintain in that particular sequence so that each element will be get filled for the formatted output. Here you can, we have the option something like it can be a mixture of way, and we can pass the index whatever be the value present in the format that has to be taken. For example, I am going to do something like over here A equals maybe another one of 0 over here, so that I don't need no need to give a multiple times. I can use the reference of index number 0, and we can use that, so that that particular value from the format, it will be taken and it will be get filled automatically over here. And apart from this, it has the option something like we can give the uh, precision based outputs. Maybe I am going to give 3.1 F over here. That provides something like a 3 decimal point and 1 precision points, and it has 34.45 has been rounded off to 34.5 basically. This is something like a kind of a providing or creating a formatted output using a print with the method of format method. Yes. Over here. And if suppose, yeah, and yeah, this is some kind of a introduction about for how we can do the formatted outputs. And next we shall move forward with the decision making, which is something like a decision making involves, yeah, conditional statements which has to be validated whether it will be a true or false. Yeah, that we can do the formatting, how to give two decimal values. For example, we can do that 0 colon 2D will provide some kind of a 2-digit decimals here. How to give two decimal values for a equal to 30, that we can use 2D, so that that provides some kind of a 2-digit decimals over here. Yeah. Is it fine? Okay, fine. Yeah. Then now we shall move forward with the uh, decision making. Maybe before that I shall copy this. Return formatted output. I'm going to restart this. Yeah. Now, maybe I can, yeah. The formatted outputs, sorry, decision making over here, that decision making is something like what it has to go. For example, if suppose we are giving yeah, input, and it has to be checked conditionally with another data, and whether it is the decision is true or not, true or false. Based on the true or false, it's the program control has to go accordingly. The similar way that it has the option something like the decision making conditional statements, if it is a non-zero or not null, or considered like a true conditions in case of a zero, and when null values are taken as a false conditions. For example, here we have an option. I am giving A equals 30 and B equals 40 over here, and A equals B, then it provides false. The conditional statement is false. In case of A not equal to B, then the conditional statement is true. Like that, we can provide the conditional statements over here. maybe I'm going to create a new file over here, new Python file, which is decision or decision.py over here. I just created a decision.py. Inside that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get an password. Password equals input, and for that I'm going to do print of enter the password over here. Once we have got in entered, maybe I am going to check whether password equals Python over here, and if conditional statement has to be ended with the colon over here, and the blocks of else should be with a single tabbed from here. For example, if has here and it has to be tabbed, the content has to be tabbed over here. For example, print of valid password over here. Now I'm going to run this program with the help of run over here, and we can choose that which application has to, which either sample.py has to be run or decision.py has to be run. That we can choose over here. I'm going to run the decision.py over here. It waits to enter the password. I'm going to enter the password Python over here. And once I entered, it checks that Python, and it validates with that Python both are equal, and it provides a valid password is the output. If in case of in case I'm going to give something like the password as Hari, then it goes out of the if loop. For example, here we have that option. If we are coming here for the condition, if pwd equals Python, if it is true, then that particular code of if block printing a valid password has been executed. If in case of a false, it directly goes and exit out of the program, basically over here. And the similar way, we have the option something like to handle the false condition using the else over here. We can put a false condition with the help of else, and we can going to print invalid password over here. And I'm going to run this, run decision. I'm going to enter the password Nivi. Then I'm getting a else block. Since the conditional statement is false, then else block get executed. If suppose we wanted to implement multiple conditions, then we can use the option of else if, that we can use it over here. Maybe I'm going to do, it comes with a elif password equals maybe Nivi. Then I'm going to print something like a temporary password over here. If suppose we are running this run decision, and I am going to give Nivi over here, and I got the output of temporary password. Whenever we provide the input, and it basically checks It basically checks that the conditional statement pwd equals Python. This conditional statement is false. Once it becomes false, it goes to that next condition over here, else if the pwd checks with the Navy and it becomes true this condition, and this conditional statement block has been executed and it provides the output of temporary password. Yeah. This is something like we have to go back and refresh ourselves. It's something we can say, yeah. It. The question is why we are giving equals two times. We are not giving only one time equals. That maybe we can check. It basically it provides some kind of a error over here and we cannot able to execute. And what is the error that we can see? We can check the our operators, that we go back over here and we have the operators of relational operators. Relational operator double equals is checks the relation A and B are equal, and in case we are using a single equals, it is an assignment operators. It just tries to assign that variable and it is not an conditional, it will not become an conditional statement for execution over here, because of that we are giving double equals, and um, since we once we give that single equals, it provides an error basically. Yeah, fine. This is some kind of a decision making. For example, it goes to if loop. If it matches, that particular code blocks will get executed. Else, if it goes to that condition, whether it that particular conditional statement is execute true. If it is a true, then that particular block will be get executed. If suppose all are false, then the complete else block will get executed. Maybe I'm going to give something like the password. I'm trying to say Hariharan over here, and it provides an invalid password, which means something like it does not matches with the if conditional statement, it does not matches with the else condition, else if conditional statement, and it reaches the complete false statement over here, and it got printed with the invalid password. Yeah. It provided with the invalid password, and next we shall move forward with the different other options like loops. What are the different kind of loops which is present in the uh, Python programming is while loop and then for loop. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We will continue. If there is any doubts, please raise a hand. Okay. And we have the different loops of Python programming. We have an while loop and then for loop. For example, the similar way we did for an if with the conditional statement, we can use the while loop with the conditional statement. For example, I'm going to create a new project, new file over here, Python file, while loop.py over here. Okay, I'm going to create something like a kind of a variable x, or maybe a count equals 0, and I am going to create a loop which is something like a while is the loop name, and I have to give the conditional statement count less than 10 is the conditional statement. Till the count is lesser than 10, the loop has to execute over here. For that, I'm going to do print something like, yeah, count colon over here, sorry, the curly braces dot format of count over here. Once it is done, maybe I'm going to do count plus equals 1 over here. Now I'm going to execute this program over here, the while loop. This basically executes the loop from 0 to 9. 10 iterations, something like 0 to 9, it got executed. For example, this has 0. Initially, it will be 0 and it prints and it continuously get incremented. And once it reaches the count count equals 10, the while loop, it gets out of the while loop basically over here. And the similar way, we have an option of for loop. For example, here it is the while loop program. It's something like we just reached over here. We are checking the count, condition of count, whether it is an less than 0. If it is a true, then while loop code of blocks will be executed and written back, and again it checks for a condition, and if the condition becomes false, it gets out of the loop basically over here. The similar way here, it we have that we are reaching the while loop and it checks for a conditional statement. If it is here, first time it has count has been initialized to 0, and the conditional statement will be true, and the while loop blocks has been executed, and it comes again to check whether the conditional statement is true. If it is true, then it gets executed up to 9. The count becomes 9. This one will get executed, and once it becomes equals to 10, then count less than 10 becomes false, and it exits out of the loop basically over here. The similar way, we have the option of for loop, which does the item from the sequence of loops. Something we can say something like, I'm going to define another Python file for loop dot py over here, and it has to be in the sequence. For example, I'm going to do for x in range of 10, which means, sorry, x in range of 10, and maybe we can do that print the x equals, and then dot format of x over here. Now, if suppose we run this program, run for loop, we got that executed. That range of 10 will provide a sequence which is 0 to 9. For example, we can use the tuple also. For example, tuple t1 equals tuple of range of 10 over here, and maybe we can do that for x in t1. That we can do with the range of 10, and I'm going to do the same thing Control X, and for X in T1, and I'm going to run this for loop over here. Now we have the option. The first loop got executed 0 to 9, and we have the second loop um, got executed from 0 to 9 again. It's something like we can assign into the tuple, and we can from the tuple we can get the sequence one by one. The similar way we can do that from the uh, dictionary as well, dictionary and list as well. For example, maybe I'm going to create another one, another file for list.py, and in the list I'm going to do list of maybe the list will be defined with the square bracket over here. Inside that I'm going to do something like um, English, comma, Max, comma, something German over here. And for example, I'm going to do for uh, maybe language in list over here. I'm going to print the language which is present in the list, maybe language equals dot format of lang I'm going to give over here. Now, for example, if suppose I'm running this loop for list, which provides something like a language equal to English, language equal to Max, and language equal to German. It basically list contains sequence of values. The for loop will fetches each value one by one till it reaches end of the list, basically. At the first iteration, it will fetches the first index value of 0, and which is an English, and second iteration, it will fetches the index number 1 from that sequence of list, which is an Max, and the third iteration, it fetches that index number 2 from that list, which is an German, which got executed and printed, and fourth iteration, there is no element present in the list. It got exited from that loop, basically. This is a example of how we can use the for loop, or using the list that we can do the similar way we did with the tuple over here. And we have the option something like we have the option something we can say that if suppose we wanted to terminate a loop, or something like we wanted to skip the loop, we can do with the statement something like a break and continue. And if suppose it does not wanted to execute any command and code to execute that, we can use the option of pause, for example. I'm going to provide something like, for example, I'm going to check, and if X equals German, then I wanted to break over here. Now we will see how the output get printed. Sorry, not here. Oh. Yeah, I'm going to check the lang equals German or not. If it is a German, the loop has to be break, or break means the loop has to be terminated. I'm going to run this, run for list. Now we got only 2 prints came out, something like English and Max. The German does not get printed because if it is a German, the complete loop will be terminated. Because of that, the German does not uh, get the print over here. The similar way, if suppose we wanted to do else if lang equals max, maybe I'm going to do English, then it has to start that continue it. It may need to continue that next iteration. It does not needs to execute the for loop block. We can give the option of continue over here. Now we will see. I am going to run this, which provides output of only just max. Here what it is happening, it's something like in the for loop, it fetches that first sequence index number 0, which comes English, and we are checking English lang is equals to English. Then we are skipping that iteration and starting the next iteration with the help of continue over here, and the code block does not get executed and it continues to the second iteration. In the second iteration, it fetches the index number 1, and which does not equal to German and English, which is on max, and it comes and it got executed in the block, and we got the print of language equal to max, and we have the loop goes to third iteration and it fetches the index number 2 German, which equals to the lang, and we are doing the break, which means that we are terminating the loop and get exited out of the loop. Basically the and we have the option something like we can use else, sorry, PASS over here. It can be a pause, and so that maybe I'm going to add some more thing, something like science, and then I'm adding some more physics over here, so that we will have the clear idea. And I'm going to run this for list, and I got the output something like physics and max got printed, and after German the loop gets break because if the language is equals to German, we are doing that we are terminating the execution, terminating the for loop over here. And if it is reaches that, if it is equals to English, we are closing that iteration and restart, going to next iteration. And in case of a pause, it just allows to execute. It does not breaks or stop the iteration. It pauses the loop to execute basically. Because of that, we got the output language equal to physics and language equal to max that we are getting over here. These three are an conditional statements or control statements of the loop. Break can be used to terminate the loop, and continue can be used to skip or close that iteration and goes to the next iteration, and pause is the one can be used to does not stop anything, it just allowed to execute is the pause basically. And then we have the option something like a function. Function is the block of code that can be reused or for perform an action, and basically it provides some kind of a modularity for our application. For example, maybe we can write a function to to define whether that particular which number is bigger, that we can able to check with the find big.py is the file I'm going to create. Inside that, I'm going to define a function. How can we define a function? We can define a function with a keyword called def and then the function name. Maybe I'm going to define a function name find big, and inside that we can provide an arguments a comma b is the argument, and it should be ended with the colon, and the content of that function should be one tab ahead of it. And I'm going to check if a less than b, then sorry, a greater than b, then return true, else return false over here. And I'm going to call this function maybe find big 10 comma 5 over here, and I'm getting the return value return equals find big, and if return then print a is bigger, and else print b is bigger over here. And I'm going to run this program over here with the help of run find bug. Oh, sorry, it's a bug. It should be find big, and I got that. I executed that program, and I'm calling that find big function from here, and with the arguments 10 comma 5, and the 10 a has been filled with 10 and b has been filled with 5, and we are checking whether a is greater than b, and it returns true, and if it is else condition, it returns false, and we are getting that true output, and we got the output of a is bigger. And in the function, we will be having something like the definitions over here, and we can provide some kind of variables, like a scope of variables can be a global or local variables that we can able to define in using the functions. Maybe I have the variable over here. I'm going to define a variable here x equals 0, and maybe I'm going to use the same x equal to 10 over here, and if suppose I'm going to print the x after calling the function, I'm going to print x equals dot format of x over here. I'm going to print before and after calling the function. Now we have the option something like I'm going to run find big, and I got the option something like x equal to 0 after calling this function, also x equal to 0, which means that x is defined local variable. We are changing x, even we are changing the x to 10, the global scope x equal to 0 does not get changed before and after that function. For example, we are changing x equal to 10, but this value does not get affected. If in case in that function we wanted to use that existing global variable in that function, then we have to use the keyword called global x over here. Once we define the global variable, global x as a global, then that particular, whatever be the variable value we are using with that name, that will be considered like a global access, and it updates the data of updates the data globally. Now we can able to run this. Now we got the x equal to 10, which means that we have defined x equal to 10, which is a global variable, and inside the function we are in order to update the x has to be a x we are referencing in this function. It should be a global data. We have defined that global x so that x got updated to 10, and which updates that global variable data, and we got the output of 10 basically. Basically, the whatever be the global variable needs to be accessed inside a function. It should use the keyword of global and then that particular variable name basically. This provides some kind of a scope of access which is defined within the function or have a global function basically over here. Uh, here maybe yeah, here we in the similar way we have the option something like a pass by value and pass by reference, that we can able to do that with the Python programming, which we does not need to define a deliberately, that we can it will handle automatically. For example, the variables like a integer, like a constants, whatever the value we are passing, it will be passed like a call by value. The whatever be the value data types, something like a list and tuple and set and then dictionary, all those data types will be passed like a call by reference. Maybe we can check it over here. I'm having a going to create a function call over here, and maybe define call by value over here, and I'm going to pass a, and I'm going to update a equals to 30 over here, and I'm going to call print. I'm going to call x equal to 10, and then sorry, maybe I'm going to do a over here and print of a equals over here dot format of a, and then I'm going to call that value call by value of a, and after that I'm going to print that function, print that variable a. Now if suppose I'm going to run this function call, I have we are passing the variable a to the call by value function, and a got updated to 30, but this whatever be the value remains same in 10 and 10. If suppose we are using a this is applicable for all the numbers, integer, floating point, and then complex numbers. In case of call by reference, I'm going to pass a list over here, and maybe list dot append. I'm going to append a list with my name Hariharan. I'm going to do that list equals empty list, and I'm going to print list equals dot format of list, and I'm going to call that function call by reference, and I'm going to pass the list over here. Now if we run this run function call, it's something like we have the list empty list we have created over here, and it provided something like a output of empty list, and we are calling the function call by reference, and we are passing the list to that function, and we are uh, appending Hariharan into that list, and whenever we are printing after calling that function, we got the list got updated with Hariharan. It's something like the call by value and call by reference will be done in the Python programming automatically, that whatever be the constant variables, it will be taken like a provided like a call by value. It's something like a list tuple, list set and dictionary, all the variables. If suppose we are updating inside the function using that variable, that will be get updated, which works like a call by reference basically. Yeah, I think with this we can able to wind up the session today, and maybe we can see about how can we handling a file, and how can we if suppose we have gone through all the success cases, in case of exception and errors, how can we handle, and how can we do that object oriented programming using the Python, that we will see on tomorrow's session. Thank you. If you have any doubts, please ping me over here. What is this print statement? I can't understand. Please say again. YY format. Uh, YY format means we have used something, a kind of a print statement over here. The YY statement, not YY. I'm not. I don't understand what is YY over here. YY format. It's something like a format function can be used. For example, A equals 10 and B equals 30. Then if you wanted to print Y format is used. If suppose we wanted to uh, the basically whatever be the program we are developing, it should be provided in a user presentable format, so that whenever we see the data, it should be easily visualized. This is the value and this is the respective um, this is the respective the this is the content and what it refers to. For example, we wanted to provide some kind of the variable value is this, and maybe I'm going to we can do that. This will give you the best d equals, for example, um, maybe name colon maybe Hariharan, and then maybe marks colon 450, and then comma department colon ECE, and I'm going to do the formatted output, for example print and student from a department scored marks over here. I'm going to format, I'm going to provide something like a D of maybe department, sorry, comma D of marks. I'm going to give, yeah, D of name. Sorry. I missed this over here. Yes. Yeah. This provides, see, providing something like a Hariharan ECE 450, we wanted to give some kind of a formatted output. Student Hariharan from ECE department scored 450 marks. This is the flexibility of formatted output. In order to make this kind of a formatted output, we will use the format function. Yes, you got it? Okay, thank you. If you have any doubts, uh, please feel free to ping me as well. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for attending this session, and we will see tomorrow on that.